Hi everyone, today we are going to be getting into our new unit, which is adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. So I have all these pages on the next slide if you need them, but you can take notes as you go, or you can go back and look at the notes on the slides and take it there. So here are the steps when you're adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. The first step is to add or subtract the numerators. So remember, the numerators are the top numbers. The second step is to keep the denominators the same. That's very important. I'll go over that example here in a second. Then the third step is to simplify or reduce if possible. And we know how to simplify because we did that in our last unit, but I will go over that again. So here's an example. 2/5 plus 1/5. Now, notice how they have the same denominator. Those are going to stay the same. If you have the same denominator, like denominators, you don't need to do anything to them, but keep them the same. What you need to focus on is the numerator. So all you have to do is add the numerators together. 2 plus 1, which gives you 3, and the denominator stays the same, which is 3/5. My third step says to simplify or reduce if possible. 3/5, you cannot reduce that, so that is my answer, 3/5. Now let's go to a subtraction problem. 6/10 minus 4/10. So you need to subtract the numerator, which is 6 minus 4, which gives you 2. And 10 and 10 are the same. They're like denominators. So you don't need to do anything with that. You are ready to just put 10 right here. And your answer is 2/10. But 2/10 can be reduced or can be simplified. They have a like factor. So we need to remember about the greatest common factor. And the greatest common factor of 2 and 10 is 2. So I can reduce these down to 1/5. I divided the top number and the bottom number by 2 because that's the greatest common factor, and I got 1/5. And 1/5 would be my answer. So anytime you're adding and subtracting fractions, you always need to look at your answer because you need to decide, does it need to be simplified or does it not need to be? And you always want to make it into the simplest form. All right, so here's a little chunk that you guys did probably last week about simplifying fractions, and I just want to review it. You don't have to write this one down because you did it last week, but to simplify fractions, you need to divide both the numerator and the denominator by the GCF, the greatest common factor. So say if you got 6/9 as your answer, you need to write out the fractions. You need to write out the factors. So if you have 6/9, you need to write the factors of 6, which is 1, 2, 3, and 6, and then the factors of 9, 1, 3, and 9. And you need to see what numbers they have in common, the greatest number you have in common, which is 3. That tells me that I need to divide my numerator and my denominator by 3, which I did here. And I got 2/3. 2/3 is the simplest form. All right, let's do some examples. So make sure to be writing these down in your notebook. So we have 4/12 plus 2/12. The 12s are the same, the denominators are the same, so that tells me I am ready to add. And I just need to add the numerators, 4 plus 2, which gives me 6, and the 12 stays the same. And I have 6/12. Well, I need to decide, can I simplify that or not? So I'm going to make my factors of 6 and 12. So 6, the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. And the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Now I see that they have 2 and 3 in common. You're going to have some numbers that are in common, but it's important to look for the greatest number they have in common, because if we were just to pick 2, it would not give me my simplest form. I would have to simplify again. You want it to its simplest form. So that's why you want to look at the greatest common factor. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this by 6, the numerator and the denominator, and I get 1/2. So that is my final answer. We will not accept your answer as 6/12. You have to make sure to put in the simplest form, which is 1/2. All right, the second example, 8/10 minus 4/10. So the 10 and the 10 are the same. They're like denominators. So that tells me that I am able to subtract the numerators. 8 minus 4, which gives me 4, and the 10 stays the same, 4/10. And then I'm not done yet because I need to make sure that it's in the simplest form. So I list out the factors of 4 and 10. Now notice how I didn't write another 2 right here. I know it's 1, 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. If you have a double number that you multiply by, 2 times 2, you don't need to write it twice. You just need to write a 2 right there. So that's why another 2 is not right there. So I have 1, 2, and 4. And then I have 10, which could be multiplied 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. And I look for the greatest common factor, which is 2. And that tells me I need to divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5. And that should give me the answer in its simplest form, which is 2/5. I cannot divide anything more by 2 and 5. And that's how you add and subtract. Now you have your homework right here. There's only 4 problems. You can do this in your math journal, and you do not need to send us a picture of it. Just practice doing it for today.